In August 1962, Marilyn Monroe's house fell silent forever. But the chain reaction that led there started long before that night. She didn't just trust the wrong men, she named them. The studio boss who owned her, the husband who tried to control her, the genius who turned her into tragedy. Each promised rescue, each broke her in a different way. What truly destroyed Marilyn Monroe wasn't an overdose, it was a system built to shatter women like her. How did it happen, step by step? Marilyn Monroe's contract with 20th Century Fox wasn't just paperwork. It was a cage built from legalese and fine print. The studio's 7-year option structure meant that each year, Fox alone decided whether Marilyn worked or waited. For all the glamour, her weekly salary started at $1,500, a fraction of what her leading men collected. Even as her face sold out box offices from Los Angeles to London, her paycheck lagged far behind her male co-stars. The contract dictated not only her pay, but the very shape of her career. She was locked into comedies, musicals, and the same breathless blonde persona. Every script, every costume, every line was chosen for her. If Marilyn wanted to play a dramatic role or ask for a raise, the answer was no. The moment she challenged these terms, the studio reminded her who held the power. She was the studio's most profitable star, but on paper she was just another asset, her worth measured by how much she could earn for others, never by what she deserved. December 1953. Marilyn Monroe refused to show up for yet another hollow musical role, a part written to keep her blonde and breathless. The studio's answer arrived the next day, a formal suspension delivered in writing, effective immediately. Her name vanished from call sheets. Paychecks stopped. Fox's publicity machine went to work, feeding the press stories about a star who was labeled unreliable, temperamental, and difficult. Headlines echoed with her supposed unprofessionalism, not the years of box office success she had delivered. Gossip columns ran anonymous tips about tantrums and lateness, painting her as unstable and ungrateful. The men in charge made sure everyone knew that Marilyn Monroe was a problem. The message was clear to every woman on the lot: step out of line and you will be shamed in public and erased in private. Studio memos and press clippings from that winter show a coordinated effort to turn her ambition into a warning. Behind the scenes, the men who owned her image tightened their grip, using humiliation as their sharpest tool. For Marilyn, the punishment was not just lost work, it was a scarlet letter designed to haunt her for the rest of her career. Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe stood on the steps of San Francisco City Hall, surrounded by a crush of reporters and fans. Their wedding, meant to be private, became a public spectacle within minutes. Monroe's studio had tipped off the press, and by the time the couple exchanged vows, 500 people had filled the corridors, shouting and snapping photographs. After the ceremony, DiMaggio's frustration was visible. He bristled at the chaos, pulling Monroe through back hallways to escape the crowd. Even on their honeymoon in Tokyo, the attention did not fade. DiMaggio's mood soured as photographers trailed them, and Monroe was swept into a world of public adoration he could never control. Their marriage lasted 274 days. From the start, DiMaggio wanted a wife who stayed home, safe from the glare. Monroe's life was the opposite: premieres, interviews, and a career built on being seen. The split widened during the filming of the film The 7-Year Itch. On a September night in 1954, Monroe stood above a subway grate as a gust of air sent her white dress billowing. Hundreds of onlookers cheered. DiMaggio watched from the sidelines, his face tight with anger. For Monroe, it was just another scene. For DiMaggio, it was humiliation, his wife's body on display for the world. That night, their fight echoed through their hotel room, the press catching wind of the rift before dawn. DiMaggio tried to pull her back, urging her to step away from the spotlight. He wanted Norma Jean, not Marilyn Monroe. But Monroe's career was inseparable from her public image. The more he tried to protect her, the more she felt caged. When she filed for divorce, citing mental cruelty, DiMaggio's heartbreak was public. Decades later, it was DiMaggio who arranged her funeral, barring Hollywood's elite from attending. The man who could not bear her fame became her final protector, standing by her side when the crowds were gone. Arthur Miller offered something Marilyn had never known with DiMaggio: the promise of being truly understood. Their nights were filled with talk about books, politics, and the meaning of art. For a time, she believed she had finally found someone who saw past the surface, someone who listened to Norma Jean instead of just watching Marilyn Monroe. When they married in June 1956, she felt safe enough to reveal her fears and ambitions, hoping Miller's intellect and tenderness would anchor her. But as the years passed, the comfort of those conversations gave way to something more clinical. Miller kept private notebooks, jotting observations about her moods and vulnerabilities. She found, in his handwriting, lines that turned her pain into material. His notes read more like a playwright's study than a husband's support. The discovery left her exposed and unsettled. By 1960, Miller wrote The Misfits specifically for her. The script was a portrait of lost souls, and every scene seemed drawn from the cracks in their marriage. Filming took place in the Nevada desert while their relationship unraveled in real time. Monroe's performance was raw and honest, but the process left her exposed. Her struggles became public, her heartbreak immortalized on film. The marriage dissolved in January 1961. Miller's disappointment was never shouted, but it lingered in every unspoken word and every private note. She had trusted him to cherish her mind and spirit. Instead, she became his case study, her hope for lasting love quietly slipping away. In the end, Miller did not just leave her lonely. He left her doubting the very possibility of being known and loved for who she truly was. Pill bottles multiplied on Marilyn Monroe's nightstand. Each one had a different label, a different promise. Nembutal to quiet her mind, chloral hydrate to force sleep. Dr. Ralph Greenson, her psychiatrist, and Dr. Hyman Engelberg, her personal physician, had agreed to consult before adding anything new. But the system broke. Marilyn convinced Dr. Engelberg to refill her Nembutal, saying Dr. Greenson had approved it. Dr. Greenson, unaware, prescribed chloral hydrate anyway. On August 4, 1962, she took both. The dosages found in her blood and her liver were far beyond safe limits, enough to end a life quickly, especially when the drugs were combined. Empty bottles sat beside her bed. The medical record showed a clear pattern. Pills for anxiety, pills for panic, pills for sleep, each one layered over the last. She had been hospitalized against her will after a breakdown, and she described the stay as terrifying. Instead of relief, she was handed more prescriptions. The safety net meant to protect her became a web she could not escape. In the end, the very people trusted with her care delivered the means of her undoing. On May 19, 1962, Marilyn Monroe stepped onto the stage at Madison Square Garden. Draped in a flesh-colored gown sewn with thousands of crystals. Her voice, soft and breathy, drifted through the darkness as she sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to John F. Kennedy. The crowd roared, but beneath the spotlight she stood alone, a guest in a world where power passed her by. That night, her image was everywhere, yet the applause faded quickly. Back in Los Angeles, the studio called her unreliable. The press whispered about her state of mind. By June of 1962, filming on Something's Got to Give had ground to a halt. Fox suspended her again, leaving her name off the call sheets and her future uncertain. In her Brentwood home, the phone rang less and less. Friends drifted away, work vanished, and the world that once demanded her presence now shut its doors. She wandered empty rooms lined with old scripts and fading photographs, isolated by fame and discarded by the very people who once claimed to adore her. In the end, the silence was louder than any crowd. A woman known by millions, left in the dark with only her memories for company. Hollywood still profits from the images it owns, while the women behind them pay the price. Today, 1 in 3 actresses reports workplace harassment. Marilyn's story isn't a relic, it is a warning. The cost of brilliance, when systems refuse to change, is paid in lives we can't replace.